feeling at my best. So yeah. Cause I'm feeling blessed. Oh yeah. Cause I'm feeling blessed. Oh yeah. Man, I'm so grateful. Wake up in the morning, rather than thankful. Hey, I'm loving my life. Yes, I'm loving my life. Hey, that's right, my damn soul. Living in the past, they don't let it go. Living my life, standing the test of time. Shake it down to my left. Shake it down to my right. Reach towards the sky and wind and round and feel fine. Shake it down to my right. Shake it down to my left. Cause I'm feeling blessed. Feeling at my best. So
Hey, welcome, panelists. Welcome, and welcome to our listeners out there. I am so glad that we all got here today to talk about the power of the erotic, the uses of the erotic as power. Let me get that correct. So I so enjoyed, man, reading this essay. I don't know. What about you, ladies?
It definitely, I think for me, it was really insightful. I thought, wow, who is this person? How have I not been deeper into her writing? How have I not read anything that she wrote in? And then I had to Google, like, okay, when was she living? When did she pass? And I'm like, wow, she passed in 92. So I was, still of age where I could have been reading her books, but it's just, I mean, the fact that she wrote something so profound that I feel like is definitely was before her time. Like, I feel like, I know, I think some of you have been doing this work longer than I have. So I feel like I'm just coming into who I am and shedding off so many of these layers. But she was there, like decades ago, and the essay is so powerful, and how she just breaks down how we got it so twisted as far as when we think about the erotica, and when she touched on basically the erotica versus porn and how it just is so powerless. But in a society right now, I feel like we're so navigated or gravitated towards porn, and there's no power in that for women usually. So it was there was a lot that stood out for me, but yeah, I thought she's amazing. I got to go find give me some books on Miss Audre Lorde and make it happen. And then she was married. She was married, but then she talks about her. I think she talked about her female lover. So it's like the whole idea that we have to do one thing one way, and it's like no, we can switch this shit up whenever we want to. So it just like she just was bold. She was badass.
Ooh, yes, and that's a good place to start. I want to hear all that, because I want to start in one place, and from that place, I just kind of wanted to flow. Anything that stood out to each of you in this essay, let's talk about it. I mean, I just kind of highlighted a whole bunch of stuff. Hopefully, I can throw out some questions, and we all can kind of answer those questions and get the feedback. Because I like Bianca. I felt like I just even asked her to please come in the room today with us.
Yes,
because it almost brings me to tears. I didn't know anything about her, and when the student is ready, the teacher will come.
Yes.
So with that getting started, I just want to start with this one thing, and then we're going to just kind of go from whatever direction it goes from. It says there are many kinds of power, used and unused, acknowledged or otherwise. The erotic is a resource within each of us that lies in a deeply female and spiritual plane, firmly rooted in the power of our unexpressed or unrecognized feeling. And in order to perpetuate itself, every oppression must corrupt or distort these various sources of power within the culture of the oppressed that can provide energy for change. Now, for women, this has meant a suppression of erotic, a considered source of power and information within our lives. And let's just kind of start there, because I think for many women, none of us had that idea that our resource lies within us.
No, absolutely. And that, that's something that I love to center on. If you know me at all, it's that the power has always been within us. I was embarrassed to not have read this until a couple of years ago. Like, given the work that I do, a friend of mine, she was like, "Have you ever read Audre Lorde's, uses of the erotic?" And I was like, "No." I was like, I knew she was a writer, poems, but when I read it, I was like, where has this been? Because this piece of work here, to me, it's not something moving forward that every woman who works with me has to read.
Yes.
Right? You have to read this, because I need you to understand that our erotic power is the battery that fuels us. And especially for Black women, we have been so taught to fear this through religion and through culture. It has this essence of who we are has been stripped away from us, just leaving us kind of like
naked,
relish, and so to read this again is a beautiful thing. I mean, it's something that I pull out and try to read every so often. It's like to me, it's like an erotic Bible.
Wow. So Imani, one of the things she talked about, I kind of felt like she talked about erotic as our intuition. What did you feel about that? Or did you sense that?
All right. Okay, Imani, we can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
You might be muted, my love. Oh, she's like, no, I'm not. Check the cam mic little gear thing.
Yeah, because it'll ask you when you first come in. Did you It'll ask you when you first come in to turn on your cam and turn on your microphone, and you may have turned on your cam. I really want to hear from this wise woman. She is like a money. I love her wisdom. And so
Nope, we still can't hear you. She just said, damn.
We can read your lips.
Knowledge born. Hey, son, can we get some help over here? So can you please help us with getting the money up? And in the meantime, I'm gonna kind of move, because I want her to jump in and share her wisdom. I love the wisdom of this woman. But one of the things I saw you shake your head, Maisha, when I said I got the impression that she talked about erotica, she calls it wisdom.
Mhm.
And she says it offers a well of replenishing and provocative force to women who are not afraid, who don't fear its revelation, nor succumb to the belief that sensation is enough. Like
Yeah.
she says, wait a minute, there's deeper. But the dichotomy of this is at the same time she talks about sensation not being enough. She also talks about if we're doing it right, erotica brings us a degree of pleasure, not just sexual, but that in everything we do, we enjoy. Are you there, Imani? Was that you?
No, I think that was knowledge doing
Yeah, I
some
think
stuff
that was
behind the
knowledge.
scenes.
Okay. Hey, Imani, one thing you might want to do is go back out, and then when you come back in, there is going to be a button that says cam. Well, it did for me on my computer. It said turn on your cam and turn on your mic. It looked like you turned on your cam, but not your mic. Okay. So, okay, she's gonna drop out. Okay, ladies. So jump in. Any part of the I'm just kind of looking at some of the notes I took, but any part that you stood out to you, like, just let us know. I kind of highlighted some things, and but this is a us thing going on here.
Yeah, there were two things. The first is in the second to last paragraph where she writes, "The erotic cannot be felt secondhand."
Yes.
That this is something that has to come from within the person. And then the whole thing, but there are just certain paragraphs that just like my clitoris and my nipples were just like,
Yeah.
they felt the erotic energy. So this one, we have been raised to fear the yes within ourselves. Ooh, wait,
Oh,
I gotta let that
girl.
marinate for a
Yeah,
minute.
that part. That
Yes.
Our
part.
deepest cravings. But once recognized, those which do not enhance our future lose their power and can be altered. The fear of our desires keeps them suspect and indiscriminately powerful. For to suppress any truth is to give it strength beyond endurance. The fear that we cannot grow beyond whatever distortions we may find in ourselves keeps us docile, loyal, and obedient, externally defined, and leads us to accept many facets of our oppression as women. I want to run around the pew right now, but I'm going to stay
And
seated.
shake.
That whole paragraph right there is like, that is the fear. Like, I can't go into my desires. I can't go into the things that I want. This is dangerous territory. This is sinful
Yes.
territory. This is dark territory. And
Right.
it keeps us in this very small, narrow box of what it means to be a woman, instead of diving in, doing the shadow work, uncovering what it means, what those fantasies are really saying to us. Not that we have to act on everything, but it's a way for us to learn self-control. So that whole paragraph, I was like, my whole body was like,
Yeah. I definitely felt that as well, because it's like, I think that we sometimes we're taught that, oh, girls should do this, women should do this, and sometimes it is nothing of what we truly desire, or maybe it's a small portion of what we desire, and then because it's not so much the norm, that we don't speak up and we don't say what's truly in our heart, truly what we're feeling in our womb area that we want to create and bring out. And that it's and it is scary sometimes, because it's like, oh damn, I'm the odd man out again. But it's a beautiful thing, I think, that when you just really start to tap in and open yourself to that, the idea of these pleasures out, and not just about, and this is not about sex or sexual pleasure, but just pleasures and everything that you do. And like, wow, how can I bring pleasure into this aspect of my life and what I'm doing over here? And I think it just makes the process so much more beautiful, whatever it is that we decide that we want to act on within those fantasies, because we all have fantasies about just a number of different things. But what is it? What are the ones that we really want to act on and be okay with it, and not fall into the thinking that, okay, if I do this, that makes me this type of person. No, I'm just a woman out here. Just a woman. I'm a woman. I'm powerful, and I'm figuring it out, and I'm doing the things that I want to. I mean, I think about myself and how I relate to this article. I was just like, wow, how many times have I pulled back because I was fearful of what other people would think if I did this, even this. And it's like, putting it out there. And one of my friends, he's so silly. He's like, hey, say the name of that show again. I was like, The Power of the Erotica. And he said, I just want to hear you say it. I said, you're so silly. And this is a good friend of mine, but he just, but he knows it's kind of outside of some of the things that I've done before. So it's just, it's just good to be heard. And I feel like Audre, she made sure, she's like, I'm going to be heard. I don't care who, like, if it's not the right time, and there is no right time, but I'm going to be heard. Because I was like, wow, she was doing this so many decades ago, and that's just it just amazed me. It definitely wants me to do a deeper dive into her works, and a deeper dive into me.
I know. And when I heard you talk about, because one of the things is kind of, I think too, is when I think of it, it's not just bringing the pleasure in, but being the pleasure, that everything, because when Maisha talked about, there was a part of it, she says, and that which is, paraphrasing, and that which is not something that really pleasurable, it just kind of drops off. But that which, and then she talked about, she said, the erotic is a measure between the beginning of our sense of self and the chaos of our strongest feelings. It's an internal sense of satisfaction to which we have once experienced, to which once we do experience it, we can expire to it. For having experienced the fullness of the depth of feeling and recognizing its power in honor and self-respect, we can require no less. It's like once you get a taste of this, you're doing yourself a disjustice. It's like you can't. There's nothing you can't go back. Now you can. She goes on down sometimes in the article talking about where we try to hide it, where we pretend that it's not there, where we look away. And so, and then she also talks about reclaiming this language, because it's a language. It's just not just erotica, but when she talks about it in language, I think about it in experience. It's not, the language is the experience. So she's talking about reclaiming this experience as a form of a language. Now that's how we communicate versus the way we used to communicate and ignore everything. Hey, Imani, can we hear you now?
No.
Oh, let's see. So I really want to hear what she has to say. Can you come through your phone since your computer's not?
The phone is always challenging with StreamYard. I was just
Yeah,
going
but
to say,
I think she came in her phone. She did.
okay.
She's coming in. She's in the computer now. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No, we can't. But yeah, this whole piece, I think. I'm sorry, I was hearing a little bit of echo. I didn't know if it was me or not. This whole piece, one of the things as each of you were speaking, and I hope to hear Imani soon. It just looks like there's stuff that needs to. She's shaking her head like, girl, I got stuff to say. Like I got stuff to say.
I know she's brilliant.
What I'm loving about this conversation is that we are all women over 45. I'm guessing.
Yes, we are. We definitely
are.
And that,
yes,
we are reclaiming this that was taken away from our mothers and our grandmothers and our great grandmothers, and that we are hopefully what we can do with this information is be able to embody it and integrate it into ourselves so that we can pass it down to the women who are younger than we are, because they are coming into this space, but there's some distortion happening because they're discovering this power, right? But they're discovering the power, right? But not
Yes.
all of the responsibility that
Yes.
comes along with that power, and sometimes all of the maturity that comes along with the power of the erotic. Because when I read this essay, I can see how clearly powerful we as women are, and in particular Black women being the genotype, the blueprint for the feminine
Yes.
on the planet, is how I see it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so my hope is that as we embody this and show them what it is, then they can carry it forth and continue with the freedoms that they've been saying, right? Like, I can do all this. It's like, yes, beauty, but here's another piece to this, so that you fully integrate the totality of the power. And now you can shift and make change, because using it for its smallest shadow part, to just get stuff,
Yeah.
this erotic can do so much more than that. It
It's
is creative
definitely.
force. So
It
that's,
really
I'm
is.
loving this.
And I just want to jump in, and anybody else keep coming. One of the things, because you said the younger people, and when I started to do this work that I'm starting to do, and even the podcast, it's for all women. But for me, it was for the older women, because I felt like I got it so late. And I felt like having all these conversations is like opening up a space that more, how you have more people can get it than one person.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not that neither one is any less or any better, but it's like we on the same mission with the same thing, but you kind of veer it to the right a little bit and I'm to the left. Not saying that you don't have older people, and not saying that younger people can't be a part of this. But for me, I was so late in so many things. I'm like, damn it, y'all's life is not over. It's not over.
No.
We still can live. We still can reclaim our sense of self, our sense of desires, our sense of pleasure. In the group, the Facebook, and it, and you do too, Bianca, because both of you are in part of the Facebook group, my Facebook group, Transformative Conversations and Solutions. One of the things we're talking about is erotica. And it's kind of been a little bit slow moving. And I think one of the reasons maybe you want to do this is because in my mind, when we think about erotica, most people think about sex.
Yeah.
And when they have this love-hate with sex, or when sex, as she talks about it, Audre Lorde talks about it in the pornographic way. Well, let's fuck, and all of this stuff without the intimacy, the connection, the depth, the meaning, the heart of it. And to be honest, until I just sat here, I really didn't understand totally what she meant about pornography. I thought she meant like watching porno. And now as I sit here and talk with you ladies, I understand it. We see it as kind of in that experience, that pornographic sexual experience, rather than something deeper. And I think women have had a love-hate. They don't really understand the depth of that. This conversation really is about pleasure. It really is, she says, bringing that into everything that you do.
Yeah.
Becoming your own pleasure. You got the resources in you. You got the source of everything within us. So yeah, I'm going to be quiet. I just want to hear y'all.
No, I think that's good. But I do want to read. Imani did put some things in the chat that everyone else can't see. So she wrote, 2 of her quotes stand out. Both have to do with claiming our power and releasing fear. Can we hear you now, Imani? I was just reading your chat message.
Oh no.
Nope, not yet. We still can't hear you. And it'll be in.
Oh, she says, I believe.
Back in again, says it's working. Okay, so it's saying it's working, but we still can't hear her.
Right.
But when I think of claiming our power and releasing.
Excuse me 1 second. Hold on. I'm sorry, Bianca. Hey, Imani, can you look at the bottom of your screen? It says a mute button, stop cam, mic, share, leave. Is any of that down there? It should be something at the bottom that says those things. You don't see it?
Yeah, she sees it.
Okay.
Listen, that just means it needs to be a part 2. That's all it is.
Okay,
I know,
whatever.
right?
We can make it a part 2
Yeah,
because I really want to
definitely.
hear her words.
Yes,
Now,
definitely a part 2.
so, ladies, let's talk about this then. So, sis Imani put 2 of her quotes stand out. Both have to do with claiming our power and releasing fear. Imani, do you have your paper in front of you so we can figure out what paragraphs? I've read it, but I mean to kind of have the context of it also to be able to bring it out. And she also said, I believe we have to move out of our own way and unteach learned behavior from family and community. I believe that too.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree with that.
And I think for me that has been one of the most challenging parts is to unlearn what I've been taught and know that there's something so much more and something so much deeper, because when you've been a part of groups, ministries, families where things were kind of just drilled into you do on some level, you own that. And then sometimes we take pride in owning that too, because like, yeah, I'm this,
Yeah.
they say this about me. And it's like, but that ain't even really me. But because because it's been put on you, you decide to own it on some levels. And then it's like you get older and you're older, and you keep moving in that same fashion, kind of like on autopilot. I feel like Audrey had the key to the matrix back then. She was like, here it is, y'all. What y'all gonna do?
Yes.
So it's definitely, like I said, I'm like you, Tresa. I see myself as a late bloomer in this unbecoming and then becoming, authentically me. So it's definitely been some challenges, here, because you want to still quote unquote find this favor that you think you have with people and ministries or whatever it is that it could be for you. And then stepping out of that, it's like you definitely are like you're released. That's where you're released. For me, that's where I've seen myself release the fears, when I step out on things that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and I'm going to say yes to this. And sometimes it could be something really small, but it opens the door, I think, for so many other ways for us to experience pleasure. I had someone asked me, she's like, well, why are you doing this? And that was, I think that was referring to the podcast. I was like, it's fun. I like it. And when I think about it now, it's like, it brings me pleasure. It's pleasurable to me. And it doesn't have to bring her pleasure, but for me, it brings me pleasure. Yeah. But, and she may not have meant it this way, but I kind of took it as, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Why is she saying that? But I like doing this. So so I was like, no, that leaving that old programming from Bianca about shrinking back. It's like, no, I do it because I like it. I don't have to have this 6-step or 10, 12-step plan to say, I'm doing this because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then have all these subsets. I'm doing it because it brings me pleasure. It's that simple.
And that's it. Yeah. I'm finding, Bianca, that women who have some issues with that, it's oftentimes because you're doing something that they wish they could.
Oh, yes.
Right? They don't have the power. They don't have the courage, right? And the reason why I say this is because I remember when Amber Rose first did the slut walk, out in LA, right? And I remember, so I was still in my motherhood phase, right? And when you're in motherhood phase, you absolutely are not supposed to be sexual, right? And so I remember just thinking, this is too much. Like, why is she doing this? Like, that's not a good thing. But really what it was is I wanted to be walking with the sluts. I wanted to be putting on the things that I remember putting on when I was younger. Can we hear you?
Yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yes. Go ahead. No, finish up.
You finish. And I'll go.
I wanted to be out there wearing the things, putting it on. I wanted to be that courageous that I could walk down the street and just say, yes, here I am. I wanted to be on a stage and just say, yes, this is me. But instead, I wanted to shame it because I didn't want to see it, because it was a reminder of how I wasn't living my truth. And I think that's, especially as women, we do that to each other a lot. We don't want to see it because it goes back to that fear of our own desires. And if I can't have my desire, I don't want to see you have it either, because it's just, I know that I just can't do it. That's what I think when I hear women say things like that, Bianca. Imani. So
Hey, okay, sis.
Agree. So now I'm going to be quiet because Tresa has pumped me up. But
Come on, bring it, Imani. Bring
What?
it.
no, but really, those two quotes that I posted are the ones that I gravitate towards. Those didn't come directly from the essay, but they just empower what she stood for to me. Like, if we get out of our own way, and I am so, as are you women, my sisters, so much into building community and reaching out to people who are recovering from trauma and childhood trauma, et cetera, that it is so important that we move out of our own way. And that is what those two quotes mean to me. Like, if I am doing this in service to my vision of what I want to do for others, which in turn helps me, I can't be fearful. I can't be afraid. I have to make my moves like I understand. And that is what I get so much from Audre Lorde, is that she's like, I'm before my time, as Bianca said. I accept all of me. I understand the bullshit that is permeated throughout this culture, where I'm supposed to find and use my voice against, all types of matter. From intercultural things where it's coming from my own people saying, girl, be quiet, sit down. Why are you talking about that? We ain't got to do this today. You trying to take us back. Black respectability politics. We need to fit into no, we fuck don't.
No,
you need to do what you have to do for your survival. You need to do what you need to do. As Maisha was just talking about motherhood and walking in that light and what that means, because I think that as Black women in particular, we look at these outer things instead of looking inward, whether that's for our spiritual edification, if you grew up in the church, and for me, because it's very hard for me to step foot into a Christian setting right now, into a church, because of the hurt that I've received there and the hurt that they continue to give out in many spaces of worship every Sunday, sending people and condemning them to hell for how they love or how they can't love. I can't allow this man to do this to me anymore. I got to get the fuck out. And get some encouragement from this pew, or why am I coming here? I'm not supposed to stand up doing praise and worship and ask y'all to pray for me, because when I go home today, it's Super Bowl Sunday. Did y'all know that this is the Sunday that most women get their asses beat the most out of any time during the year, because men are so in touch and in tune with this aggression on the field. They got money on the game. They don't put some barbecue on the grill. They don't spend money. They running the free liquor. Come over, chill with us. And people take this stuff so personally. Y'all know the people I'm talking about.
Yes.
Who wear the jerseys and they're giving the play-by-play because they're the coach now. They take it too seriously. And who pays the price for that? When they get home.
Yes.
Every year without fail. And it's not okay. So if the church is not giving me what I need, if the community, when I go to talk to my sisters and I'm not getting what I need, where do I go? You have to go inward. And then you might have to, rework some things and come back out stronger. And what I believe that we want to do in our walk as community agents of love and helping people to pull back the layers on their journey and actually do the work, is that we just really have to get to a point of being comfortable with ourselves, saying no to the Black respectability politics, which is what Audre Lorde spoke to about in this essay. Pulling back the layers, understanding what your gifts are, turning off the feeling of feeling numb and doing things that take us out of character to deal with that instead of dealing with it. Another thing is that I know I'm not for everybody. I would like to think I am, but I know I'm not. You all have special vibes. Y'all gonna push some people away because they not ready to deal with it. You too fucking real.
Yes.
Monday, that was what was suppressed.
Yes.
Well, I
Yes.
didn't see. So that's what you're hearing now. And so for anybody that is trying to find their way, there's going to be a fork in the road. There are going to be people on the left that are like, what are you doing? I don't even think I want to deal with you on that level. I liked it when you were meek and mild and you wouldn't open your mouth and you wouldn't say anything. And now you're talking political stuff. I didn't even know that you talk politics, but we know that everything is political. The side of the street that you choose to walk on is political. If you choose to get a vaccination or not, everything is political. And so she spoke to politics and how we look at politics in this essay on the erotic and what we need to do to move out of our own way. And that is like has been my biggest thing in almost 58 years of living, is getting out of my own way, turning off the negative self-talk, instead saying, you know what? I am pretty damn deep. I think that I have some things that I want to share.
Yeah.
Because we need people to embrace just all of their empowerment that they don't even know that they have because it's been buried down for so long from the time we were little girls. Don't do that. Don't sit like that. Don't you talk like that. Bianca, if you don't take off that beautiful color hair and that red lipstick.
Never the red. Never the red.
Who do you think you are? And the thing is, we have to be able to answer that. I know exactly who the fuck I am. Let me tell you. Because I've been through some things. I've lived some things. I'm not telling you what I read about, what I heard about, what happened to the sister up the street, what happened to my auntie, what my mama went through. I'm telling you about my 58 years. Mm-hmm. And where I find this most interesting is in dealing, Maisha, with my own adult daughters, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff comes up,
yes,
as a mother, because that mother-daughter thing, and we had a mother, and we really have to unravel what all of that means. Because mama came here with her set that she got from her mother, and she gave it to you, and then you gonna pass that on. You got to do some pulling out and deciphering for what works. Now, sure, there are some things that work because they are high value, high value things. Your morals, your standards, where you get that from, and even with that, what worked for mama may not work for you. But I do think that daughters need to understand that their mothers have a message because they've lived longer. They might not have done everything right. I did not. But then as a grandmother, Bianca, Tresa, you kind of get to redo it over and do it a little bit different with a little bit more wisdom and understanding that. Now, I think the problem comes in is when we don't allow for that growth or we don't acknowledge that growth and we continue to do things the same way over and over. So what I got from that was not so much sex, because when she mentioned sex outside of man's take on it and him being in a place of power, he did say whether we are creating art or making love. And I like the sound of that, making love, because I did a lot of fucking. Just cause. Just because. I needed something to do. I needed a release. Didn't necessarily have to have a connection. So I'm glad she moved the conversation away from that direct, physical thing that may be beautiful or may just be something to help you get a nut off. And I hate
Right.
the word nut, but
And excuse me, Imani, I just want to interject this, and I want you to finish. She called, and I was telling them she called that pornographic.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like that's the part. At first, I thought she was talking about porno, but when I listened to her, just the fucking was the pornographic of it all. It really wasn't the connection. There was no sensation there. There was no
Nothing.
real. Yes.
Nothing.
Right.
Because you can do that for yourself. You know, thank God.
Mhm.
Right. And I was going to bring that up too as well, Tresa.
Mhm.
When you said that earlier, she talked about the pornography, but I think that when most of us think of pornography, we think of, you know, the crazy, or not say the crazy, but the videos or whatever. But there could be pornography in how we are just living every day. Just like there, just no sense of feeling. Just we're on autopilot because this is what we've been told. This is how we should live, and we're not feeling. There's nothing in it that we love about it. It's just like, okay, this is how this is how I'm living my life, and it on a level it's with, like you said, it's without feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And
that what makes it that pornography is without feeling.
Mhm.
There's no substance
Nothing
there.
Yeah.
and there's this part where she says, why is erotica feared? She said one reason is why it's so feared is often relegated to the bedroom alone
Mm-hmm.
when it is recognized, or if it's recognized at all. And then for once we began to feel deeply all the aspects of our lives. We begin to demand from ourselves and our life pursuits that they feel in accordance with the joy in which we know ourselves to be capable of. So
That's
when
right.
you start talking about the erotic, when she talked about it and what it really means, she's like, it will change your life if
Mm-hmm.
you let it. And
Yeah.
so we're often afraid to let it. And then the ones outside of us, we talk about the patriarchal man, whether it's white men, black men, or whatever, but men, or even sometimes now our sisters, because to own your erotic power is to own the source, to own the sacred, to own the creative. All of this
Yes.
stuff scares the shit out of people because now you got to be different. And when
Mm-hmm.
Maisha talked about um wanting that, I remember. So I even talked about this in something. I said I used to admire the prostitute. And it was definitely such an opposite because I too was in the church and stuff. And like, what the hell is wrong with you? But I would never talk about it and I would never tell anybody. But it wasn't so much, maybe part of it was the work she did, but I think the most of it was the fact that she did what she had to do and she owned that. And there is a power in understanding, doing what you need to do and owning it. Not I may look at and say, well, dang, you could have found another way. The issue is not whether she could have found another way. It's possible, maybe it wasn't. But the point that she did what she had to do, she owned it. She held her head up. I'm not talking about the ones that was beat down because
Right.
Audre Lorde talks about them. She talked about those, and they don't have to be just women who were prostitutes. They are all of us when we're so beat down and just let life or situations or whatever, then we find ourselves in those places. But the empowering part is that when we understand that our source is our pleasure. That's one of the most important things. If you live your pleasure, your life is going to be it's going to be so powerful. And whether you have $1,000,000 or $10, if you live your pleasure, nothing can knock you off your square in the sense
That's
that
right.
there's a joy that is imminent inside of you, that internal joy that Imani talked about. So yeah, I think, I don't know, but I don't like got geeked and I just like I listened to it, then I read it, then I just highlighted all this paper.
Right.
All the notes, as you all was speaking about the pornographic side of it, I love etymology. I love words and wordplay. And for those who are watching who don't realize, that the root of erotic is eros, right? It's love.
Right.
Right, that's the root of it. And so it's love for life. It's that is the energy, the source, as you all have been saying, that power that fuels us, that creative life force. Pornographic is something that's obscene. right?
Mhm.
It's something that's offensive. It is offensive for us not to use our erotic power to live the lives that we came here to live. It is obscene to think that we are not to allow this power to fuel us. It is obscene to only use it for just the fuck,
Yes.
and not for the creation, and not for the love, and not for the freedom. And I could see how she could, see that, because it's not the actual pornography itself, right? Because there's some great pornography out there that's really wonderful,
Yes,
and
sister.
beautifully sourced, you know. But to me, anything that's obscene and that's offensive, and one of the most offensive things I think we can do is to deny the power that was given to us when we first took breath, and that we have
Yes.
every day to do that is, and I'm completely with her on that. And when you look at your life that way, it is so powerful. It's like, do I want my life to be like you were saying, Bianca, empty, the pornography of it, like obscene? Oh, good God, no. Give me the erotic every single day.
Give me
Every
Oh,
the
day.
that's a
pleasure.
t-shirt.
Yes. And
Mhm.
when you think about the erotic, you get to decide. So what's for Imani, or what's for Maisha, or what's for Bianca
Mhm.
may be different from me. But the point was she didn't try to. I loved it because as a black lesbian woman, oh, and one part of it, she talked about whether it's, you don't have to be defined, like it don't have to be about the church, it don't have to be about this, it don't have to be about that. And the
Mhm.
point is, she didn't try to come in like, because she was writing it for the feminists. She didn't come in and try to say it's this way, because that would be in this way is no different than being
Mhm.
what we do at the church or what we do something else is this way. No, it's almost like a foundation said, live your pleasure, whatever it is, and that is your highest power. That every woman, and what you think you want, when you really start living your power, if it is not what you want, it will fall away. But
Mm.
give yourself that experience of living your power. And she said it's born out of chaos. And I'm thinking,
Yep.
oh, but divine energy is, because divine mother source, everything, even the way a baby is grows inside of us, everything, it's like there's all these pieces and all this stuff that's happening. So yeah, I love that this divine chaos, and sometimes the chaos, it just rocks just all the other. It's almost like she's saying, look, when you choose it, understand that there's gonna be a piece that you, because I'm gonna be talking about this in our group. That there, and I wrote it this kind of way. I said there's a cost for your alabaster oil. You're your oil. To
Mm.
choose yourself, there is a cost.
Mm.
So with that, I'm gonna give you guys the floor. But yeah, I get so excited because
Right.
like,
I just want to read this one paragraph because it's orgasmic. And it's orgasmic because when I hear it, it just feels like it. Another important way in which the erotic connection functions is the open and fearless underlying of my capacity for joy, in the
yeah,
way my body stretches to music and opens into response, hearkening to its deepest rhythm. So every level upon which I sense also opens to the erotically satisfying experience, whether it is dancing, building a bookcase, writing a poem, examining an idea. If that is not the definition of orgasm for a woman,
that
Right.
living life.
opening
Yes,
and the depth
Right.
and the riding of the waves of it. This woman, what? All right,
yes.
y'all.
Yes. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And one of the ways she talks about this, she says it feels right. She says, beyond the superficial, the considered phrase, it feels right to me, acknowledge the strength of the erotic into true knowledge for what that means is the first and most powerful guiding light toward any understanding. And understanding is a handmaid with which, I'm sorry, an understanding is a handmaid which can only wait upon or clarify that knowledge deeply born. The erotic is the nurturer or nursemaid of our deepest knowledge. Because when we choose to honor our pleasure, it
Mm.
nurses that pleasure. Because that's really
Mhm.
all it is.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's just like, oh my God. Um, I mean, I'm like, and they talk about living in it through. So I want to get y'all's ideas about this, sisters. It says, our erotic knowledge empowers us, becomes a lens through which we scrutinize all aspects of our existence, forcing us to evaluate those aspects honestly in terms of their relative meaning within our own lives. And this is a grave responsibility projected from within each one of us, not to settle for the convenient, the shoddy, the conventionally expected, nor the merely safe. I want to hear from each one of y'all. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah.
Or, and even especially even in respect to your own life.
Yeah. I think you know, she mentioned being safe. It is so safe to play small. It is so safe to be small and not push the limits, and to stay at that level that, the world, which could be parents,
Mhm.
sisters, siblings, whomever, say that you should be at, or just even in your, like, um it's that level of safe, fighting that level of safety and being okay with it. For me, like the chaos that comes out of that, because it's like you play safe for so long, and then when you're coming out of it, it's like, what the fuck did I just do? What's happening? What's going on? So it's a level of chaos, and you're like trying to, for me, like manage my way through sometimes of what I feel is chaotic about my life and where I want it to go and what I want it to be. And it's just like, okay, I can, there's always the, the little sneaky thing behind you to say, you can always shrink back and just, and no one would complain. Everyone would be okay.
Right.
So it's like for me, the chaos is the battle. It's the battle of me, myself, and I. Was like, no, we're gonna do this shit. We're gonna whatever, what brings you pleasure. Think about that deeply. And what is it that you want to do? What do you want to, what legacies do you want to leave for your grandkids? What is it that you truly want? Oh my God, makes me think of this exercise that we did and this training had, where you're in this circle and everybody is screaming around you, what do you want? What do you want? And it's super intense. So, and you have to shout out all these things that you want. And sometimes the shit that come out of your mouth, you be like, whoa, I didn't even know I wanted that. But you're in the moment. It's chaotic. It's crazy. But it's an exercise that's meant for you to really come to grips about what are your deepest desires. And that's what I kind of think about this, as far as when she talks about being safe and the chaos, because it's coming up out of the safety net, like leaving the safety net. It's like I'm about to trip and fall and break my neck, but it's like, okay, I ain't really break my neck, but I'm good. And, I might be scruffed up a little bit, but outside of the net is so much better. So
It's so
it's
much better.
yeah, it's so much better. So it's just like there's so many levels of just excellence and knowledge on just to this 7-page essay. Like there's so much to dig into. So like I said, I'm really just excited to have been invited to this and to kind of just really be introduced to her, because she was so before her time. And I'm like, wow, you know, and it makes me think about the things that we will do collectively, individually. And they might be like, damn, they really came out, they where at some point, like, being erotic in our everyday life, that will be the norm. Whereas now
Yes.
it's kind of shunned upon, and they'll be like, oh, they were like Tresa, Bianca, and Maisha, Imani, they were before their time. So that's the hope. That's the vision, is that this is this is the norm.
Normalizing it.
This is
Yes.
normalized. Yes, this is
We want to
normalized for
normalize foot
generations,
pressure.
generations in front of us, that they're like, oh yeah, no, I live erotically every day. What? And to not live that would be like, what's wrong with you? Whereas it's the other way right now. It's kind of flipped. So it's exciting. Like, who said, somebody's like, it's exciting time to be alive.
Yes.
Change the narrative. Change the narrative.
Yes,
And
changing the
tying
narrative.
this thing too, and thank you for that, Bianca. And I'm gonna piggyback here. And I don't know if anyone has seen Miss Pat, her comedy special on Netflix.
I haven't.
I was like, wow,
Okay.
she was a lot, but I had to respect her game. I had to respect the way she presented because she owns all of her truth. This is a woman I assume is in her late 40s, very early 50s, probably late 40s, but who was dating a much older man who was married. She got pregnant at 13.
Wow.
His wife confronted her. And so her routine is built around, comedy routine is built around what happened with her and her mom, how her mom raised her, and then how she raised her kids and how she dealt with these situations. And I was like, whoo, she is over the top. But I had to go back to what she said at the beginning, when they were, doing the opening credits. And she was like, one of the guys said, one of the hosts said, wow, you got pregnant. You got pregnant right as soon as you had a baby, right when you had your first period, huh? And essentially, she had, and she said, you know what? Fuck you. That's my truth. It happened. My son is 21. He's straight. He good. But I'm gonna talk about all of that in my routine, in my act. Don't come on here trying to shame me in the opening credits, because I own mine. And I absolutely had to respect that. I absolutely had to respect it. My mouth dropped a few times during that hour. I've gone back and watched it the second time because I just thought she was fearless.
And I think that takes us to a new level of pleasure, because if we don't feel like we have to explain ourselves, make people feel comfortable because that's our truth, feel some shame because that's our truth, because shame keeps you stuck. Shame keeps you in a rut and just keeps you repeating cycles because you're too embarrassed to even just say. My younger sister, well, she's just a year younger than me, this particular sister, because I got a couple, she used to say, I have not done anything that I'm going to be ashamed about. So if I did it, you ain't going to find me being ashamed about it. That doesn't mean maybe later on we may not have thought, dang, that might not have been the best idea. But what I realized now, she was saying, even if she realized later, damn, I wish I would have never done it. You're not going to make me feel bad about it. And
you're not going to make me feel bad about it.
You're not going to make me feel bad about it. So I think that's where, when you start talking about some of these things, is that we live our life that understand it. And that's where some of the chaos is coming from, because we are definitely upsetting the mother squelching apple cart. Like, who lives like this? Who lives?
And I'm just owning it. Like, I, at the end of finishing my book, I decided to include an essay. Bianca, did you finish?
No, not yet. But
okay. Yeah. Well, I hope I'm not doing. I hope you read past this part, but because I am going to share.
No, definitely share.
I came out about living with genital herpes since 1982.
Okay.
1982. So all of my entire adult life, this has been a source of shame. And I just finally, I was closing out the book manuscript. And I said, I'm going to include this because I'm going to add it, and I'm going to include it because I know that I'm not the only person that has carried this shame. 1 in every 6 persons has some form of herpes, mouth or genital, and we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it. And so people have quietly whispered to me and come out to me over the years about them having herpes. Some people are married, some people are not. Some people have been in long-term relationships. Some people haven't been sexual due to it. And I just got really over it. I know my body. Now, what has not happened in all of these decades is that no male has ever said it to me first. Money, we're getting y'all can move into this intimacy square, move a little bit differently. I need you to know I have herpes. They've never said it. I've said it, but no male has ever said it to me. Not one. Not one. And I find that to be so very interesting because that has to be part of should be part of a conversation before you become intimate with someone.
And that's part of the erotic too. When we when we can have these conversations, because we're empowered by conversations. Like, one of the ladies that's going to be on the podcast, she tells everybody, I don't have no shame for you. Her father's a minister and she writes a lot of erotica. You can't shame me. And Bianca, she's like fabulous by attention. For me, it's conversations heal. Conversations heal. And my thing is, I don't care what nobody say in this sense. I know that sometimes they can bring up a lot of stuff, but if you're not here to debate and try to argue, let it flow. The pus will come out. The healing will take place. Even if it's tender, we get to have these conversations. And for me, that's a beautiful thing. Like, I was part of domestic violence. I had abortions, all this stuff. Like, I think for me, it's like, you or Bianca, one of y'all said, why you tell all this stuff? Because at this point, there's nothing. It's not even just about me anymore. It's like shit. It's like this lady you talked about. I don't know if you heard it. Maisha, she talked about Miss Pat, and she kind of went into some of the things. Okay, so it's kind of like, I've had all these situations. Like, by the time I got through having my babies, I had 6 live births because I had a set of twins, so five pregnancies. But between a miscarriage, a tubal pregnant, and 3 or 4 abortions, hell, you know what I'm saying? It's like I didn't have and then the experiences that I went through. When you talk about, I was so numb that my husband had came up a couple of times where I worked at. He had slapped me in front of his cousins, my coworkers, and I had gotten so like numb. I didn't even know to be like, this shouldn't be something. I mean, I guess I knew in some level it shouldn't be happening, but my whole point was the shit that I just kind of allowed. So why do I talk about it kind of same like you? Taking the sting out of it. Taking the sting out of it and beginning to live a life of pleasure and being who I am, what I am, and like that. And like, all of that is part of who I was. All of that makes me who I am today. All of that, when you start saying to yourself, how does this serve me? What have I learned from these experiences? And begin to live it like from that place, your life changes. When I began to realize there's certain things that my mom went through, and I began to understand and put things in perspective, I began to see, not only as a mother, but as a woman, she had a lot of deficiencies, but she was no different than any other woman. And the moment I could give her compassion, I started having more compassion for myself. It is ironic that my stepfather, who was the first man who had touched me before I turned, it was 2 weeks before my 11th birthday. And I was able to forgive him long before I forgave her. It is ironic how we punish women.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff that we go through, how we punish ourselves, we punish the women. Not saying that we don't hold different ones accountable, but I'm just saying, I don't have this shame and this shit, this stuff, like all this stuff that I used to just be sitting in a corner. I tell people I do mental health work all the time, but I swear to God, if somebody had done a mental health on me, they would have given me a long litany of put all these what do we call them when we do the diagnosis on me? I'm sure some of my therapists did anyway. They just didn't tell me what it was. But I'm just saying, I used to kind of just the stuff that I would do. I look back now and I'm like, some of it was not, it was a form of mental health, but some of it was not some of this stuff that was okay, I want to say it could be generational, but not in the way like your father had bipolar and you ended up with bipolar. But I'm talking about generational in the way there was just certain stuff passed down because you didn't know how to live a fulfilling life because your mama didn't know and nobody else knew how. And so I just wanted to change this, and particularly, like I said, I want all women to understand it, but these older women, 60, 70 years old, I just turned like, our life is not over. And what if you just gave yourself for the next 5, 10, 15 years, whatever you got left on this planet, a chance to explore something different? That life don't just happen to us, but that we can happen to life. So when we left off, Maisha, I wanted to hear anything you wanted to talk about, and I kind of threw out that question. Um, I don't know. Do you remember what it was?
Not at this point.
Okay. Well, I just want
so
Well,
much.
go ahead and talk about whatever you want to talk about. Then.
Right, and we have 20 minutes. I just want to check
Yeah,
that in.
yeah.
Okay, this
so
is good
we all
though.
aware.
This is good.
I know.
Yeah, yes, I definitely don't remember what the question was. I was trying to figure out what it would be because we've covered so much rich,
Yes.
and that's how we do, right? And I love that about us as
Yes.
Black women just sitting around the table. I was really just I think I was so just absorbing all of the conversation. I wasn't really thinking, which is great. This does take me back to something that Bianca was talking about with the chaos, and to me, I see the chaos as and it is like in Chinese medicine and in other places, like the feminine energy is the dark. It's the space where you don't know what's happening, you can't see what's going on. It's the chaos, right? It's the process of birth. You have no idea what's really going on in there, right? You just know that things are happening, and every once in a while there's a whole lot of movement, and you're like, whoa, and you don't know what, but you don't know when it's coming. You don't know when the baby's coming out. It's like planting a seed in the ground when you want to grow something. You don't know what's going to happen with the crop. You don't know if it's going to live or if it's going to die, no matter how great you take care of it. That a lot of that to me is indicative of what feminine energy is. It's chaotic. It's wild. It's unhinged. It cannot be tamed. And this is part of the
It's
fear
creative.
of it, why it needs to be boxed, right? Because creative energy is right. Know anyone who's creative. I love Prince Rogers Nelson. I love that man. I fully believe he was like, fuck y'all, I'm out of here because this is about some shit about to hit the fan. And I just would rather return to love than be here with all this going on. And so he decided to make an exit, But if you look at him, his brain, right? But the creativity that came out of it. No one could understand him. They were always trying to put him in something. Is he gay? Is he straight? Is he male? Is he female? Because he was everywhere because of he understood the creative energy. And there's a fear of that. There's a fear of the unknown, of not knowing. And we so live in a society that has been tilted toward the shadow side of masculine energy, which is linear and which gives shape and form to things. But we've so gravitated toward that, especially in the last 2 years, because we do not, as human beings, like to not know. We try to rationalize death. We try to figure it out. We try to stop it. We try to hold it off. There are things that we're just not going to know.
Right.
That is feminine. That is the eros. That is the erotic. And that is the thing at the end of the day. People are very much fearing because you can't tell what's coming next, but it's the very energy that we need in order to create. Nothing comes into creation unless it is between the legs of a woman. Nothing comes into creation without feminine energy. How could someone possibly think to create an airplane? Possibly think to design a structure? That required a chaotic mind with the masculine structure to give it the instruction, right? But it's the creative piece of it that comes out first. And then it's that masculine energy that comes along to help give it form and function. But we're so scared of that first part. We just want to get to the form and function. And so we talk about everything.
Because we want to always know. And I don't know if any of you remember, but she there's somewhere in the letter that she talks about depression, and she just kind of, and it, to me, I can't remember it right now, but it kind of made me think that, okay, we really could help push ourselves into these depressive states when we are not living creatively. We are just suppressing, that energy, that
Oh, no.
erotic being, because we want to fit in or whatever the case may be. And when we're suppressing, then that's when we could find ourselves sometimes in these dark places, this depressive state. So I found that to be really interesting. I was like, wow, we just let it out, let it flow, and we would be so much better for it.
Mhm.
And who ends
I
up with
think,
those diagnoses more than other people?
yeah, but I think
I thought about
sometimes
that
though
too.
go ahead,
ahead,
Bianca.
Tresa.
No,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
thought about that too. I remember, oh God, I don't know if it was in high school or college, reading something where women, because they sometimes were emotional or expressing themselves creatively, that they had to go to the doctor, and they
Right,
had these weird things that they would
right.
do to them. You know what I like? And sometimes I'm like, where did I read this from? I don't remember
Yes.
exactly where, but I was like, but they used to do weird things to the women to kind of suppress
Yes.
what really was just the creative, that was the erotic trying to come out, but it was labeled as, no, this is no, we need to know everything, and we need women to be this and this only. So anyone outside of that is just like wrong, and we gotta fix her. So it
Making
just
me think of Joan Didion. Joan Didion comes to mind with that. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I think too that when we have sometimes, so I think that there is a sense of knowing in all of us when we're born,
Yes,
but
absolutely.
society, our
Yeah.
parents, this and that. Because I know when we did the circle the other day, one of my youngest daughters, well, my youngest daughter, she was kind of talking about, because we were talking about some stuff, and she was like, um, I won't go through the whole conversation, but the point I want to make is she was like, there might have been certain expressions, but because of her mother said that was wrong. Her mother said she shouldn't be doing that. Um, so she was always torn between what was hers, what she felt was hers to do, or the woman that she was growing into, versus what her mother put on her and said
Mhm.
should be proper, should be proper.
mhm,
And at that time I was kind of like in the church too, and it was kind of like you got all this stuff that you tell that should be proper, and this proper shit needs to go. It's just like this proper stuff is killing us all, because we, even when you think about the expression of little children, it's like some things they just intuitively know. And one of the things I love about this essay is I really felt like what she talked about was intuitive living. And so when you have young children and they're just exploring, and they're just
Mhm.
all over the place, and they're just kind of just figuring things out, when that hasn't been broken, like,
Mhm.
so in some ways we can learn a lot from them and tapping back on into our own inner child, so that we can get that. Because we kind of put up this box, adults act like this and kids act like this, which is crazy, because sometimes we tell the kids, you shouldn't act like this, you shouldn't even be a kid, you should act more adult like.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but
Yeah. Ooh, you speak on it. You're saying so much that's on point. Now, where I see that, where there's a difference with that sometimes is with Black mothers and white mothers. You take
Mhm.
kids to the doctor's office, and they're sitting in there, and they might have a magazine or crayons for them to play with. But if a white child goes into their mother's purse and pulls out things and is playing with them, they're exploring, they're checking it out, they're generally left alone. You let that
Mhm.
Black child go into that Black mama's purse and pull some shit out. And, you know,
yes.
and so we just got to be aware of where we place limitations, because that's stopping somebody from exploring. Really, you could just get them your keychain and let them play with that, and they'd be fine. You ain't got to cuss them out. And, what you doing? Yelling, shaming them in the doctor's or in the pediatrician
Yes,
office.
the shame. Yes.
Being allowed to explore is like a freedom, and so we have to be mindful, you know,
Yes.
of little things like that,
Absolutely.
because it's
Even
really
now when we
bothersome.
parent ourselves, because a lot of us at 60, or you, I know somebody said 58, and Bianca, I think you're 55, and I'm not
54.
quite sure how you old, but Maisha, even ourselves, when we parent ourselves, stop doing that. Go sit down. You shouldn't be doing that. Stop doing it. And when I say conversation heals, even the ones we tell ourselves can heal us, or they can break us.
Yes.
So we reparenting that inner child, but we telling her sit down. Ooh, you're gonna get in trouble. Ooh, you shouldn't. Like we're still mumbling the words that we heard from our parents or society or people that raised us. Now that we're grown, and these are the things, and that's where the chaos. When y'all made me think about that, I'm like, oh my God, having beautiful sisters to help you bounce things off. Because again, where I thought pornography meant one thing, and I was thinking about chaos meaning one thing, and then as I listen to you guys, the chaos is just really willing to overturn something because it's going to get messy.
Yes.
When you overturn that stuff and you start like wait a minute, you might have to dump it all out and figure out how to put it back together. So I think that even reparenting ourselves is something many of us really need to take time to do. Otherwise, we repeat what we've heard to ourselves. Sit down. You shouldn't do that.
Right.
You should be quiet. You shouldn't have, all this stuff. Shut your mouth. You don't tell what's done in the house. Don't go outside this house. Keep them secrets.
So do you think that mindset, or how do you think? Because I think that's such an important topic to hit on. Mindset affects us and what we need to do to shift that, because that's something everybody can do at home on their own. You don't have to spend no money. You can do some mindset work, look up some videos, get into your meditation. Can y'all speak to that and how it's played a part in shifting your consciousness so that you are able to be fed, even as you're giving away all of this important information and ways of restructuring our thought process?
Yeah,
that's a great question to end the show on. So I'm gonna let you, whoever, I'll go last, but go ahead.
Okay, I think for me it was definitely opening myself up to different modalities or different groups of women to kind of just sit and absorb and also give what I have, because it's like, if all you know is like, okay, you need to go to the Bible, you need to go to the church, you need to go to this person or that person to get your wisdom, your knowledge, then it just I'm sorry, my baby saying bye bye to me. I love you. Bye.
That's okay.
We know what that is. We know what that is.
We know what that is. That's good. He want to tell his grandmama bye bye. That's okay.
I know. I didn't get a chance to spend a lot of time with him this weekend, but it's okay. I'd be like, I love my grandsons and my granddaughter. She needs to get over here too. But anyway, so I think for me, again, I'll go quickly because I think we need to wrap up. It's just opening myself to different kind of healing circles, or just really listening to the intuition within me that say, you need to go here. Although it's totally fucking different than anything you ever fucking done, that's where you need to go. And then when I went there, it opened the door for this and for that and for this and for that. So I think that's that been huge for me, really listening to my intuition and not trying to make it logical.
Okay. Right on. Thank you.
I'll say quickly for me. I didn't grow up in the church. I grew up in the Nation of Islam, which is it's got its own parameters. But my father also just happened to be a very esoteric type of person. So when it came to the spiritual stuff, my mind was always open to all of those types of things. But when it came to applying it in my life and what society expected of me and what family expected of me, that was a very different story. So although I could pull from different resources, it was all like oil on water. I was not embodying any of it because I was taught to be I'm a child of the 70s. I was taught to be very intellectual so I could go save my race. And in order to do that, you had to be one of the smart kids, right? So it's all about the intelligence. It was not about the intuition. It was not about the feminine. And so that was my journey, was having to get out of my head and out of my ego and deeper into my body. And for that, I grabbed resources every place that I could turn. You know, when YouTube came out, the YouTube Academy was on there. I was looking at all the folks when they talk about shifting your mindset and doing all these other types of things, you know, going back to my dance roots and allowing that to begin to come back through me, and then finding other women, not enough of us, you know, which is why I'm glad I'm in this space, you know, but I had to learn from folks who took it and made it something else in order for me to remind myself of who I was and where I came from. But it's all good, you know, and now I can bring it to us. But that's what I really had to do. I had to learn how to get in my body and how to feel and into it. Like Bianca said, that was a big piece for me too, learning how to use my intuition.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesomeness. Yes, thank you.
Liz? So for me, I have to say it was moving from religion to spirituality. And that's kind of been a journey, because it's always been a connection with me, you know, from the time that I came out of my mother's womb. You know, my mother said, "Oh, you cried for 6 months. We thought you was going to drive us nuts." But then she said, I got quiet. By the time I was about a year, I was just really quiet and not mute, but really didn't say anything until I was almost coming up on first grade, kind of like a Oprah or Maya Angelou in a way. But like, I would play with my siblings, but prefer my own. But in that instance, that grounded me and that prepared me for all the shit that was coming after. It prepared me. So a lot of it is the intuition. It's been my spirituality. It has been acknowledging, doing the work that I'm doing here. It is with other women. It's reading, meditating, finding my pleasure for real. Like, I'm like, you know, I know we don't have time, so we're gonna have to have another episode, but I would just bring this out. I was talking to a girlfriend and having girlfriend and sisterhood, and I was telling her, you know, recently when I made a choice for myself, there was a relationship that I had to let go of. But even in the beginning of it, I just knew at this moment I was coming into the woman, and I didn't know who she was going to be, and I still don't fully know all of her. But I took a chance on me. I just could not anymore give up myself for what somebody else thought I should be. And I think that was one of a major thing for me too. And I remember this person saying, "You can't have it all." And I said, "That's a lie. I can have it all."
Yes.
And so holding space for myself to believe in these things. And that's why I believe conversations definitely heal, especially the ones we say to ourselves. And last, I want to say, like, friendships, because I met each one of y'all in a unique way. I met Maisha through the Coochie Coach. She felt like we would be a good connection. I met you, Imani, through Rayshawn and oh my God, Bahinda, which took me into a journey of poetry. That year or so that I was in that group began to purge, but because everybody can't heal the same way. And I just want to tap onto that really quick. We all don't heal the same way. And so being in that group, as I began to write poetry, unbeknownst to me, I was being able a year later to look back and saw where I was making progress in my journey about so many things that I didn't even know. It was the poetry. Some people can have it up in their face. And some people, especially usually people who've dealt with substance abuse, sexual abuse, it usually has to come a different way. Well, substance abuse too.
Yeah.
Sexual abuse, right, but it has to come its own unique way.
Right.
And then Bianca, man, she she couldn't stand me. She was that one. She could not stand me when she first met me. She felt like I talked too much. And she tells me now, I saw something in you that I realized later I wanted. But she didn't like me. She didn't like me. She like, you talk too much. And we met at a sacred sexuality retreat. But here was the thing. I had made up my mind. I wasn't going to sit in the back of the room, metaphorically, but I still sat in the front. But you know what I mean? I was going to get what I came for. So for her, it was like, who is this woman talking so damn much? I wish she would shut up. You know, she telling me all this stuff later. So yeah, having that being open, that sometimes knowing that sisterhood can change our lives. And
Yes.
so
All right. So I think that is a good point to end, and then knowledge, like, hey, get those media shout outs going. How can people find everyone? So mine is pretty easy. You can find me at my website, www.fabulousbyintention.com. In Facebook, Bianca McAtee Thompson, as it reads there, and Fabulous by Intention on Instagram.
okay.
I'll go. You can find me all over the place at Sensual Energy Alchemy. My website is sensualenergyalchemy.com. And I'm here on Facebook. I'm here on YouTube. I'm here on Instagram. Just sensual, like your five senses. Sensual Energy and Alchemy. Sensual Energy Alchemy.
Okay.
And I'm C. Imani Williams. Hit me across all social media. C. Imani Williams. Website CImaniWilliams.com.
All right. Thank you, ladies. And my website is Transformative Conversations and Solutions. I am uniquely brilliant too, with the TWO on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Facebook. My group, if anyone is interested, is Transformative Conversation and Solutions. And yeah, so those are some of the places that, I got to get better at this part. That's the part I got to get better at. But it's all
You're doing
good. I
fine.
want to say thank you, ladies,
Yes.
so much for showing up, not only for me and everybody else, but showing up for yourselves. Because when we put ourselves out there, we heal too. And I just want to say thank you for this conversation, because my motto is conversations heal. To everyone out there, thank you that showed up, that came in and listened now, and who will come back and listen. Also, next month, in a couple of weeks, we'll be putting out next month's topic, and hope to see everyone again. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Tresa, Bianca, Maisha. Love y'all. Love everybody.
I love all
Thank
of y'all
you.
as well. Thank y'all for showing up.
And you wearing the hell out of that ear art, ma'am. You gonna make me go pull out my purple ones, because that is
Yes, I love me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
And I probably could. I didn't even think about it, but I got that. I got them. The ones with the. That's what I should have just had. The ones we talking about, the erotica. But I didn't want to get too about sex.
These are hitting. That orange is popping.
Yes,
It looks
thank
great with
you.
your cut, your glasses.
I
All right,
appreciate
y'all.
that.
Have a blessed Black Love weekend. Rest of Black Love weekend.
Yes. Enjoy.
Check in on your sisters if they men are doing the Super Bowl party. Check in on them tonight. For real.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think we just all can leave. Let's see.
Yeah, we're just coming on.
Oh, okay. Maisha, can you still hear me? I'm getting ready to accept that request and send you one. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Special 'cause I am a queen, and don't you know that I am that somebody? Special 'cause I am a queen, and don't you know that I am that somebody? Hey yo, queen, I'm living on my dream, so feel free, dancing to the hottest thing go. Dope queens are only in my circle. You gotta be a queen to roll with me. Dope queen, yeah, you a dope queen. She a dope queen, you gotta be a queen to roll with me. Hey yo, king, I'm everything you like, and I don't find it surprising. Created just right. See, I was made for your liking. I do that to your eyes. I shine so bright, yeah, it's blinding. Yeah, it's blinding. Like a diamond. I'm lighting up the room so beautifully. I attract the king so naturally. I can change the world, just plant the seed. Just treat me how I'm supposed to be treated. 'Cause I can't help to respect you. And I expect to get it back. Special 'cause I am a queen, and don't you know that I am that somebody? Especially cause I am a queen. And don't you know that I am that somebody? Hey yo queen, I'm living on my drink so feel free, dancing to the hottest thing go. Dope queens are only in my circle. You gotta be a queen to roll with me. Dope queen, yeah you a dope queen. She a dope queen, you gotta be a queen to roll with me. Hey yo queen, you ain't even gotta try to make a change to your body. Create it just fine. Embrace the way you're designed. From your head up to your thighs, natural beauty defined. And it's all mine. Confidence way up, and getting through this life just makes me tough. And even when I thought I had enough, the power of resilience takes over. I get what I want, knowing I am loved. I am the creation, connection, attraction, reflection of the sun. Especially cause I am a queen. And don't you know that I am that somebody? Especially cause I am a queen. And don't you know that I am that somebody? Hey yo queen, I'm living on my drink so feel free, dancing to the hottest thing go. Dope queens are only in my circle. You gotta be a queen to roll with me. Dope queen, yeah you a dope queen.